say, "Oops, sorry."
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah, but
live. Um,
sorry, I know.
yeah.
Could you
Let's
allow me to just? I think this topic is extremely important to we in
Well,
Yes.
Belize and to the
we'll
world.
stay on it, John. We'll stay on it. Let's go. We're live as it is, and if you can see in the corner of your screen, up top, you should see the countdown. We're
Right,
17 seconds in already. I am
right.
G. Michael Reed from a wet Belize City. Joe is here in Belize with us, and of course, our good friend Gregory Morrison is up there in Los
California.
Angeles, LA, City of Angels. We on Sunday, I believe it's Sunday, November the 5th, we go back an hour in the daylight
Yes.
savings time.
Yes.
I don't know how we're gonna we don't change time in Belize, so we'll maintain our time. So Gregory, it'll be an hour earlier for you.
Yes.
How will
Yes. We start at 5 o'clock
will you be
my
able to
time.
handle that? Will that be all right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I'll survive it.
So when we can just stay things as they are, because CY is in New York and he can handle that tour up there, right? So, all right. So I'm joined again as usual by the usual suspects: Joe Cowie, also in Belize City, and again Gregory Morrison. We're supposed to have a guest later on this evening in the person of Lennox Lamb, a young man from Belize who has done a course in political science and has done some work out there with young people. So we should, and he's young himself. We're gonna get an interesting perspective from him. We're following up on last week's show with Dickie, and your point was taken, Gregory, that maybe we didn't get enough into the Constitution, and we have to go deeper with Dickie the next time we get him on. No,
Yeah.
he has expressed interest in joining us again, which I'm looking forward to, and we're hold on to the topic next time because we heard a lot about your grandpa this time. And next time, we want to hear about the Constitution and the grandfather clauses
Yes,
thereof.
yes, yes, and
Um,
some of the stuff that he was talking about the civil service, but really about the
yes.
Constitution
And
too.
you
Yeah,
know, Joe has a lot of experience in that also, being himself a former minister of government, long time politician, long time public servant. Um, Joe, you sat on a couple of committees, didn't you? Moving forward in your career.
Yeah, I sat on many. I was first as a public officer involved with the then George Brown, who was a lawyer, to do the reform for the public sector. Sorry, for do the reform for the customs regulations with the British at the time.
Uh-huh.
And then my next experience in reform was at the United Nations, invited through the UNDP to do good governance and sustainable development. Then I got involved with public sector reform again through CARICAD. That's a group
Mhm.
that's headed by the Caribbean Regional Development, Dr. Gomes, who again invited me to sit on the committee to carry out a study for the reform for the region. And then I headed the reform for the country in terms of the tax reform. And
Mhm.
then I headed the reform for the health system. And I was in Cuba for many times, which I was in Canada because we adopted the Cuban system, but we adopted the Canadian system for the NHI. So I did many, I was involved in many, developing many reforms for
Let
Belize
me
and for the region.
ask you something here because I saw that the prime minister on the news tonight was saying that they're getting ready to invest some money in the citrus industry. You were saying that we fell from 8 million boxes to half less than 1 million boxes exported per year. He's saying that Costa Rica had the same issues we did, which was the citrus greening, which affected the citrus industry. I Does the citrus industry pay taxes? Because I understand that they don't. And why not if they don't?
Well, it's not that if the citrus does pay taxes, it's whether the people who are involved in the citrus industry, which they do,
the
they also have to pay
employees,
the tax.
the employees pay taxes.
No, no, the investors themselves in the citrus industry, they all pay taxes
How do you mean they pay taxes? We're talking
because
about
as a
taxes
business
on
person,
the
you pay
profit.
business tax.
Pardon me?
I say when you are in business, In Belize, we have what you call, it used to be the income tax.
Hmm.
They changed it to business tax.
Uh,
But
So
what tax would
all
they pay if
businesses
they don't
pay
have, if they
taxes,
don't,
pay business
what
tax.
taxes
Then
would they have? How, in what form are those taxes that those investors would pay? What form does that take? I know as employees, the people that are employed by the citrus industry pay their taxes and their social security. But
right.
what taxes is there for investors
when you are in business,
other than
yeah,
profit
when you are in
and
business, you pay
uh-huh.
all the taxes. You pay the custom duty. You pay the environmental tax. You pay the GST. You pay the excise tax. No, the business pay business tax. The
Mhm.
employees pay income tax, personal.
Right.
Yes.
So
S-
they pay all the taxes. They are not
No,
exempted
no,
from
you
taxes.
smoking me there, Joe.
Huh?
You smoking me there because
When I say
if
smoke, what you mean?
you're throwing
No,
smoke at me.
no, figure of speech. Just a figure of speech. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
go,
Yeah,
yeah.
You
you're
want
throwing
me to
smoke at.
repeat it for you?
No,
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 it's
no.
not
Hold
repeat.
on.
I'm trying to understand. I know that businesses pay a separate business tax on the profit they make, right?
No, 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 no. No, no. That used to be. That changed long ago.
To what?
To
Change to what?
business tax. They used to pay income tax and income, the net profit.
Right.
Okay.
So
But they
now
Okay.
they
don't
pay
do
a
that
flat.
again. They changed it to business tax.
They pay
Okay.
a
So
flat
give me the
tax.
structure of that then,
The
because I don't
business
understand.
tax is a
Okay.
simplified tax that pays tax on revenue, your total revenue. So if your
Yes.
revenue is $1 million,
Yes.
you will pay tax. It varies from
Yes.
1.5 up to 15%.
Okay.
No, an income tax you used to pay on the net profit,
Okay.
but we shifted to the business tax. There are
Okay.
cases where you have an option to choose, but basically it is business tax, businesses pay.
All right. I was curious because I understood that they didn't. But I have to find out
I can
more.
give you the facts on that because we work. That's what we work on right now, presently.
No, I know, but
Yeah, we do
I
it
still
for
don't
several
understand
organizations.
I still don't understand if they say they don't pay taxes, what taxes as a investor they would pay. I know I know you would have taxes if the government forgive your taxes because they say we're exempting you from paying business tax. I'm trying to figure out what business tax those investors would be obligated to pay other than the income from dividend that they would be that would show up as part of their
All right.
income.
Everybody pay the taxes. All the taxes that are there, once you are liable, you pay. Now, what the government has is what they call a fiscal incentive.
Hmm.
Now, if you qualify for a fiscal incentive, they will decide what are the taxes you will be exempted from. So, if you are want to do investment in an area where there is a high risk,
Hmm.
and people don't want to invest in it because it's too risky.
Right.
So what the government drew through the fiscal incentive, it gives you relief from the taxes for a period to
Hmm.
allow you to come in and hopefully become viable. Then after that period, you pay all your taxes.
Yes.
So it's the fiscal incentive they use in cases where the risk might appear to be high, but we want investment in that area. So they use the fiscal incentive law for that.
These are some of like the 30-year exemptions that they give to some business, no?
That's right.
Which
That one was
which
horrible, but they did it.
yeah, which
Sorry, it didn't go through. It didn't go
right.
through. They
Yeah.
wanted to.
Yeah. Well, I know Born and Born had gotten one such exemption one time.
But
Right.
what?
But
I mean, I don't have a problem with incentive
incentives, yeah.
taxes given to businesses when it is going to promote jobs and there's no such business already and there's no competition in that space.
As a startup,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah, but they
But
don't give fiscal incentive to create jobs.
okay.
Because if I can get into a business,
Hmm.
if I want to go into merchandising tomorrow, which is the business now that with the lowest risk and highest return,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
go into merchandising
yeah, yeah. You don't
and
get
I
for
pay my
that.
taxes and I create jobs.
Yeah, yeah.
The issue is not about just the creation of jobs. The
Right.
issue is whether
The
you can
industry.
take an enterprise
Hmm.
that is considered to be high risk
Hmm.
and take it from an infancy stage to a stage where it can become viable.
Yes,
and begin
yes,
to
yes.
export and then create jobs and add to the economy. That's
Yes,
what
I
it is.
understand. I
Yeah.
understand.
And at that point, then you start pay your taxes, I imagine.
That's right. Once you set your diaper, then you must pay.
Yeah. But they usually do it by a set period as opposed to monitoring the progress of the company, correct?
Right.
So
What you do is that they would try to determine what period you would need to reach your break-even point.
Mm-hmm.
And once that can be agreed upon, then they say, okay, we are giving you it for X period.
Mm-hmm.
So evidently during that period, you must become viable. At the end
Mm-hmm.
of that period, then the incentive is removed.
Yeah.
Joe, you remember Williamson Industries?
Yes, I do. I used
Uh,
to monitor the Williamson industry. Yeah.
all right. How were they doing? Did they get incentive? And is that one of the reasons why they left?
No. Williamson industry was an industry that would naturally not have to pay those taxes. Most of them. Because Williamson industry is for export. And most of our taxes, almost all of them, except for personal tax and business tax, they are all what you call destination taxes. So if an industry comes into Belize, whether that Williamson, anyone, and they say, listen, I want to produce goods, but the goods are for export, then anything that comes into the country as input to produce those goods are not taxable. So it's not that you are being exempted. You can't be exempted from something that is
And
taxable.
how what they send out? Like they were producing clothing,
No,
pants, and they
no. What
sent
is
those out.
when they send it out, they have to send it out. But suppose Williamson said, listen, we want to hold back some of what we manufacture for the local market. Then he must pay the taxes on that because that is not going out. But what you need to pay a tax on is was then the business tax when Williamson was there. So the incentive that we were given to Williamson is not what you call the indirect taxes like custom duty, excise duty, environmental tax. Those were
Mhm.
not to be charged. Because
Okay.
once they are for export, their destination taxes mean you pay the tax where the goods are destined for.
So
So if we bring goods from Panama, which most of the goods come from the free zone, from the east, through Panama into Belize, most of the goods come that way. So when you
Okay.
bring them into Belize, you can say, listen, I am going to manufacture goods from what I bring in. You can get either a designated area, which means then that I want to get 10 acres and I will set up my manufacturing there. And everything that comes in, don't pay the tax. No tax.
and anything that goes out don't pay tax.
No, because there are no export tax.
So
We don't have export
where
tax.
you get where
Yeah.
we get them? Then is there a free ride then?
No, it's not a free ride. It's that many years ago, we used to have an export tax. So what happened? The only thing that we used to export then was sugar, mainly. So sugar used to pay an export tax, but we dropped the export tax many years ago. We don't charge export tax. So the bottom line is that you only can pay taxes where taxes are by law created. But if there's no law for the tax, then you don't pay anything. And then it depends on the type of tax. So destination taxes will only be paid where the goods will be consumed in the country.
How
If
does
they are
it
not to
work?
be consumed in the country, then there's no taxes on those goods.
How does it work with call centers?
Call centers are required to pay tax like everybody else because they are not treated as an export industry because they are not. No. Theoretically, they are what you call to invisibly export, like tourism. Tourism is invisibly export, but they are not treated as an export industry. So they pay taxes like everybody else.
Yeah. Well, they've been creating some jobs. I'll tell you, I don't know how long it's going to last because I think with AI coming in, good night, Lisa, with artificial intelligence, it looks like it's going to take over most of that now and do even a better job of that. So that will, if for now it seems a boost to the country, how long it's going to hold out is another matter.
If we are sufficiently forward looking, it has already been established internationally what are the types of jobs that will become redundant, that AI will take over. There was that study has been done, and I think I should look at it and read it.
Yes.
Now, that will keep changing. For example, they put down that the accounting, now I am an accountant by profession, that the accounting will become redundant because AI will
Obsolete.
take over.
Yeah.
A group of us, I led it, I said that we're going to write them because they made a mistake, which they acknowledged. And what they were doing is that they were treating accounting only for the
As
accounting
entry.
technician,
Right. The entry.
which already has already replaced the accounting technician through like
Mhm.
QuickBook.
So
You
who
don't
made
have to be an accountant to do QuickBook.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
who
they
made
have
the,
already replaced that.
who made the mistake? They or AI?
They made a mistake because anybody can write them, and correct them. They were treating accounting in the limited sense of the accounting technician when the professional accounting cannot be displaced.
Yeah. Yeah. You need that
Yeah.
certifier. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so you safe for a little while yet?
Well, we had our meeting this morning to applaud what we did.
Yeah.
and
I
and
see.
and similarly for engineering, there's
That's
an
right.
aspect of it that is going to be so computerized and stuff that it will kind of reduce some of the and create redundancy in the field, but still you'll need the engineers to kind of confirm that things are correct. So there's a little bit of slackening that's going to happen, but in the
100% agree
yeah,
with you.
but
Because
in the
engineering was one that was in fact mentioned. But
Mhm.
one thing they did, they made sure that they never make the mistake that you will be able to replace a certain
Yeah.
aspect, but you cannot replace the engineer as a professional.
That's correct.
They are not ready to do
Interesting.
that. They can't do that yet.
Lennox was on there for a minute.
Yeah, I keep
You still
going
there,
in and
Lennox?
out.
You having trouble, or are you?
I'm here.
All right.
I'm having some trouble with my lighting, but I'm good. Good
All
night.
right, wonderful. Yeah, yeah. Look
Good
a little
evening.
dark. You
Welcome.
look a little dark there. I don't know. I know you supposed to be a light skinned person, so
I'm trying to get the lighting together. But I'm here.
we got you. Welcome to the show. Welcome all you out there listening. Couple of you checking in already. Appreciate it. Lennox, we're really happy to have you on. We're honored to be able to chat with you for a while. As a member of the younger generation, those of us that are on the panel are a bit gray-haired, if you will. Some of us cut off our hair, so we're not in a show gray. But we're here with when we talk about artificial intelligence and the things that's gonna be redundant or even obsolete. Some of them. How do you see that affecting us as we move forward?
So surprisingly, I think I try to stay away from it, but I'm not using AI. I think it's here. It's here to stay. We will have to start embracing it. I work with the city of St. Louis, and surprisingly, we got a memo a couple of weeks ago about the use of AI within government offices and in that space. What I think will happen is it's being used unofficially by a lot of workers within different institutions. A lot of students are using it. So what we're trying to do, I think, is to try to catch up, and how to embrace it will be the problem, especially for that older generation who just
Yeah,
deal with it.
us, because it kind of like not easy, man. You know, there are many people in my age group. I find out now use Facebook, now know how to get on the computer and WhatsApp and etc. So fortunately, I am a little bit up with it, but I know there's so much more. Is AI gonna get out of control, or are we gonna be able to control it?
I think they're trying their best to try to control it, but how the technology works, it basically feeds on the harnessing of information. So they believe that they can control it, but the more access to information that we give it by using it, empowers it and gets it
More,
stronger.
yeah.
How you stop it, to be honest, I don't know. I don't think it's possible to stop.
Wait. I don't know if we should. We should stop it because certainly it makes life a bit easier.
It does. It really does. Like I said, I
Yeah.
use it. I mean, it
Yeah.
does, and I think we should use it. I mean, I am for getting out more. I think what it will do is reduce the amount manpower we need in the clerical spaces, which will allow people to enjoy life, get out, spend time with their family.
That's
And so
right.
if we cut, I think especially like places like Belize, let's consider it. Let's cut that work to 4 days a week.
But Lennox, let's be real. You know they're going to take advantage of that, the capitalist system under which we live.
But they
They-
hope. But the idea is you'll still get paid for 40 hours.
That,
They-
that,
and
would,
they-
be, that would be
Exactly.
wonderful.
Yeah,
but you know
that
they don't
doesn't
do it.
But
You
that's
know
not
they don't
the
do it.
Well,
capitalism.
G-Mike, LA has the state of California is in the process of cutting the work week down. So I mean, we want people to
And paying them for the same amount.
paying
Yeah.
them for the same amount of
Because
time.
remember, you get paid by the
That's
hour
right.
now. You got one,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
got one
Well,
hourly
it-
rate.
No, they'll
But
change.
the benefit
They'll
of
change
the
the
AI
schedule.
is that what Mr. Lam is saying. If we can increase productivity
Yes.
without having to increase human capital input, it means that we can get more income
Efficiency. Yeah.
by working less.
Yes.
No. How will capitalism benefit? Since we were talking about capitalism, just the capitalist wants consumers. AI cannot consume goods.
And capitalists want money.
That's right. And you get it from the,
Exactly,
you
so
get
we
it from AI. You get it from the consumers.
Yeah.
So the capitalists are supporting it because they believe that there will be more leisure and people will spend more. And you know where they will put their money into? Into the hospitality industry. Leisure.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what they
You-
are planning to do.
Right now, there's a big conference going on in the United Kingdom on
That's
AI
right.
that they're
In
talking
Edinburgh, I
about the.
think.
Yes,
That's correct.
yes. So,
Yeah.
they're talking about some of the protection, some of the concerns that Lennox mentioned about the threat, the potential threat it imposes, and all that are issues that they're going to be bringing up in this conference. And it has some of the world leaders on AI, Microsoft, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and many other top people. I think there's like couple hundred major corporations and people in that space that are participating in that conference right now.
One
That's
more
very
question.
true.
One more question along that line, though. Is it not still garbage in, garbage out?
Always with technology.
Yeah,
But
because
but
what it does, G-Mike, is not necessarily garbage. In what it does, it harness or it captures all the information.
That's
you
right.
put in code words, you put in, it has parameters. So it
But
does,
somebody has to put them
well,
in. That's what I'm saying.
I was going to say, no, that idea, garbage in, garbage out, is still real, because even AI today has what they call hallucination, where the information it puts out is not consistent with anything that anybody wants. It's actually garbage. And so the information that it gathers and the information it formulates sometime is garbage, right? Because
Well-
it's picking up incorrect information and making incorrect assumptions and decisions about things. But it is getting better. It is getting better. They are looking at ways to improve it, to assess the information and kind of monitor it, and so that it does produce more sensible and more accurate information that
mean,
you're expecting.
there-
And so you
there-
have to check it.
Go ahead, Lennox. Yeah, man.
guys, I mean, but like for example, we know now that AI has passed the most of the bar examinations. The AI is passing board examinations. So I wouldn't want to use the term garbage in, garbage out. It's a thinking machine.
So it does it, but it cannot generate those thoughts and ideas on its own, correct? Which are basically what that they say. I mean, can it
No,
think
it's
on
just
its
assessing.
own?
No, it's not.
No,
It's
I can't see
harnessing
it.
information. It's harnessing
No, Lennox,
information.
tell me something different, though. Lennox,
Yes.
are you saying this machine is start to think for itself?
I'm saying to you, it has passed the bar examinations. It passed board examination in medicine.
Yeah.
So if that is thinking, maybe at the entry level, G-Mike, I wouldn't say it is thinking. Yes, it's thinking, for lack of a better word. But a lot of the entry level work that is used by these technocrats and professionals, AI can now generate what you would think the answers to these things would be.
Well, I know there's a
What
program where
it's
tell
doing?
people
Yeah,
do
what
it,
it's
and
doing?
But
What it's doing?
gentlemen,
It's yeah.
hold on.
Lennox, can we go back to something very simple? My understanding of artificial intelligence is more that is an advanced stage of what was there long before
Yes.
when we invented the computer, when we
Yes.
invented, well, the computer.
Yes.
The reality is that before the computer, the human mind could only have stored a certain amount of information.
That's correct.
Now, whatever we store in there is what we will put out from what is stored.
Exactly.
Then
Exactly.
man invented the computer. And with the computer, we were able to store a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, sorry. And it's on the basis of the storage of information that science is advancing now, that artificial intelligence is about storing information.
So
That's what
it's more
Yeah.
than a memory,
So
Joe. It's more
storing
than a
and
memory.
retrieving.
No,
No,
it's
it's
not-
memory.
no,
It's only
I'm saying
memory
to you,
so
it's
far.
not memory.
Eh,
It's not
eh,
memory.
well,
No,
listen,
what it
Can
has
somebody
is
explain to me what it is then? Who
I'm
knows
not
about it? I
getting
know
that
about
from
it, but
Lennox. I'm not
somebody
getting that
explain.
from Lennox. Listen,
no,
certainly the information has to come from somewhere. And
That's
Yes.
correct.
that's where the
Yes.
saying garbage in, garbage out came
Yeah,
from.
yeah.
That if you put in garbage, a garbage you don't get out.
And I
If
agree
you,
with
if
that.
you put
What
in
you
good
said is
stuff,
And that's
true.
true.
then you get it.
What you said
But
is
now,
true.
GMAC, we're using the machines. We're not, most people, believe it or not, is not using machines for garbage. So
That's
like
right.
if professionals are typing, they're using machine for real work. And
And I think that
no.
explains that. That explains
where
that.
it's hard
Yeah,
to
yeah.
If you put
information
wrong
from.
improper information, you're going to get
But
improper
that's
information
that's
out.
how the
That's right.
garbage in,
But
garbage out
people
goes. But
are putting in more decent and more accurate
That's
information,
right.
and it's
That's the
being
point.
built. It's
Exactly.
being built in that manner, and so the output you're getting is going to be more qualified. It cannot, a computer cannot answer a question for a test if it doesn't
right.
have the basis of what
That's right.
But that's
information
not
and
what
response it
Lennox
should
is
have.
not saying that. Lennox is not saying that.
GMAC, don't speak for me. That's what I'm saying, buddy. What it does, GMAC, you type, like when you used to write,
Uh-huh.
everything you write, and you did your fact check, you're a journalist, you put your information in the machine.
Right.
Once it's up there now, AI has the ability to pull
Okay,
that
yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Retrieve that.
So,
Yes.
so it's substantive work that is out there in volumes, and AI is now harvesting that and putting.
But that one good way for put it because I like Google. Because I know one person information, like he get everybody
correct.
information and could
Yeah.
use anything with
And
it.
that's what it's doing. Yes.
Yeah. That one amazing thing.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's-
make way.
It's
Yes.
gathering all the information in the public domain, and
Well,
then
too much
based on
information.
based on what you ask it, it attempts to generate an answer to approximate that result.
I will know hereafter be careful of what I put up there.
Mr. Chairman, what I would like to do, I would like to get somebody as a guest to come on the show who knows about AI, and maybe then we can benefit from him. Because I am not an expert in AI, but I know the concept. I am familiar with the concept of AI. But I don't know enough about it. But the concept I know.
Well, I don't like how you kind of discredit me boy ability. The guy sound like he know and leave it about it. So
Who's that?
Lennox.
But Lennox know more about it than me. But what he doesn't know more than me is that all of we can know the concept. I know for a fact that the more information you gather, factual information.
Yes.
If I can put into me 1,000 units of information,
right,
and you can put into you 800 units of information, I will be able to give you more results.
Yes.
But no.
The computer is the same thing.
No. You're missing a point. You're missing something there.
No, man. The internet.
You see why I put in and what you put in, the computer take the two of them together and
That's
use
correct.
them.
That's
So
correct.
The point that could you allow me,
That's
Mr.
correct.
Chairman,
That's
to
correct.
explain? It's not that difficult to understand that concept. It is difficult about the overall function. What it is doing is simple this. We as humans have a capacity to retain a certain amount of information. It varies among us. You might be able to hold more information than I can. So when you talk on a subject, you don't need to look in a book or anything, because you have hold back more than I. You can
You
retain
got memory. You got a
information.
good memory.
No, that's right. In the case of artificial intelligence never started yesterday, you know.
Joe, when you get somebody we know because you're talking dogmatically and you don't know enough to
No.
talk that.
No, what I'm saying to you, Mr. Chairman, is that what I'm saying,
I hear what you're
am
saying.
certain of what I'm saying. Because I did that study, but I didn't do AI as it is today. What I know for a fact is
You
that
did
when
the
you're
whole
putting,
AI. You did
when you're putting for example, all right,
you
let
did
me
AI when I'm a minus I.
no, man, let me give you an example of what they call the game Linux, the game we want to play chess.
Yeah.
You can AI program set up and it's beating the best chess player in the world.
Yeah.
Joe, you're the state the obvious. With that
The
yes.
obvious is
But that is it. That
because
is the
AI,
early
AI, they have been able to
sensing
put more
of AI.
information into it than
Yeah.
the human being could have had.
All right.
That's
When,
why
when,
this
when,
is
when,
transferred.
And he's not only that, he will not forget.
we
Right?
know when
That's right.
we
He will
know when
not
That's right.
forget.
not
He will
doing
not
nothing
forget.
can never forget. We know when
Yeah.
we talk about that we can get somebody that when we talk to Lennox. Lennox, make we tell us a bit about Lennox. We know you studied political science, but you never gone into politics. We're gonna hide that.
Thank goodness.
That's not true.
Oh,
You gone into
uh-oh.
politics, you mean I see a run, you never see a name for no ticket.
That's not true. Let's start before that. I came out of a political family. I've always engaged. I've been in politics.
Red or blue?
My family was a red family, NIP family, UDP family.
Gregory likes you already. Go ahead.
I'm wondering why he's wearing a blue shirt.
And I'll tell you, at a very young age, mature age, I encountered, I think, one of the greatest political minds this country I've ever seen. He started to engage me when I was at the university, I believe. He basically forced my hand and tricked me to engage in politics, more from a community-based perspective, engaging, being a part. He allowed me to push the envelope as it relates to his participation within his community.
Who is this genius?
He's actually on the panel, Joe Coy.
Oh,
and then
so the man did convert you. The man did grab you.
What?
I worked with Joe in various capacities within his organization as his youth coordinator. I worked in his office, and then after that, I ended up at NDAC where I did a lot of more social type work, drug education. And then after that, I went to the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, where I studied politics and government. And at the time when Chavez was there, so it was an amazing, amazing experience.
When you said it didn't have a socialist context to it.
Yes, Chavez came up with this concept. It's called it's a cross between socialism and capitalism. He called it 21st century socialism, which basically uses the access of capital, because Venezuela is one of the richest countries in the hemisphere. Yeah. So what he did was he changed the model of the 60-40, where oil countries would save 60% of the capital and invest 40. He flipped it, and he decided to put 60% into the people and the development, and then also push and try to get the average citizen, the average person to invest in the state and build the state. So I got to see that firsthand. And after that,
he also had a good initiative with offering oil concessions to.
Well, it was big. It was bigger than that. That was only one aspect.
Yes,
I
know
of his process. That Petrocaribbean. The goal was he wanted to basically break us away from the IMF, the World Bank, and set up our own bank with our own resources to elevate ourselves. I mean, he was light years ahead of what we were able to see. And then after that, Joe said I went more capitalist than
Socialist.
But after that, I got into business because, like I said, Venezuela does push a lot of business. And I'm now transitioning myself. I went to the US where I'm at most of the time. And I'm actually running a wonderful political program. I'm the certification manager for the Minority Business Enterprise Program, where what the United States tries to do, it stems off of affirmative action, whereby they give minorities access to bidding on government contracts, and corporations also give them access so that they can be a part in an equitable justice system. So I get to actually work with certifying minorities.
How is that working now, since they are dismantling a lot of the minority?
Well, most of the programs are actually at the point now where we have to figure out how we can move it away from just race-based or sex-based. And so there are ways where the federal government already jumped it. So there are different criteria we can use now to justify the historical disadvantage that minorities have had within the business space.
So you use the term access, though, but is access also advantage or equal access across the board?
What you try to do with economic justice is to create a level playing field where anybody and everybody can come in and play.
But they have to bring their A game.
Well, in anything you do, G-Mike, you have to bring your A game. But what happened before was minorities were never even given a chance to get into the game.
But then after that, they were given more chance than
That's not true, you know.
Well, that's what affirmative action was about.
No, it was never. It was never.
No,
you don't think so?
No, it was never.
That's not what it was, G-Mike.
They were not taking unqualified people to
of course
fill any
not.
position.
Of course not. But if you had two people with the same qualification, one was a minority and one wasn't, and they would give the minority the advantage. That's the question I'm asking.
Yes. I would think
that's not how it works. What happened, guys? Most states would do what is called a disparity study, which tells you where the different groups, the disadvantaged groups, are within the economic space.
Right.
And based on your population, based on your demographics, like in the St. Louis metropolitan area that I can speak on, it has been decided that 42% of all government contracts, all government incentivized program has to be given to a minority group. So it's based on your demographics and how disadvantaged your groups are. Now, we just finished a disparity study, which is saying that in the case of females, they have bridged the gap so we can lower their participation. So it's a moving target, and all the states have done it. I love California, very progressive. They have moved away to whereby they're looking at specific areas and things like that. So it was never a free for all. And to be certified, you have to be qualified. Yeah. You have to have the ability to get into the game. But creating that environment is where it is. And then you're asking, and I'm now in the process of transitioning back home. And I do plan to engage the political atmosphere in Belize in a more intentional way.
Do you have certain things that you have put your eye on and your finger on that you think you can bring back to Belize that will help the environment, the political environment?
I'll say this to you. I don't bring back. I'm always home. I'm home.
Okay,
yeah. I'm always in Belize. So it's not a bring back, and I've actively engaged. I've always engaged. I do think we have to look at, and I'm saying this very measured, we will have to at some point look at how we can create an environment whereby our young people, our elders, and our different groups can engage in certain spaces equally, or at least have that opportunity. I do have major concerns with the access of goods and services, and so I look at some of those type of stuff. I kind of also want to look at how we can get the institutions to give more from a people perspective rather from a institutionalized outlook. So those are some of the things I want to look at when I do engage.
Well, as a person that saw two sides, you came from a red background and you worked with a blue for a while. Are we going to get past the political divide at any point? Are there some things you think we might could introduce?
I will not say I came from a blue or a red background. My family were UDP, but anybody that knows my family, we were always about serving the people, delivering goods for people. I worked with Joe Cowie. Joe Cowie is that. He basically aggressively came for me. I worked with him, and he never looked at where I came from, my background. One of the reasons I became very close to him was because I saw in his constituency where he provided, everybody had access to him. Everybody had access to goods and services. So my political experience has never been one whereby access to what the citizenry needs was ever based on color. So I can say, although I am a PUP, I was the president of BUM, I do not see politics from the eyes of a party versus the opportunity to give people what is our goal.
I just wanted to add something to that about Mr. Cowie, because I was talking to my sister one day and she told me, I said, "Oh, my brother was at some point in the lands department during the Esquivel government. He was kind of managing it, and I said, "Oh, Tom gave you your land?" He said, "No, Tom didn't give me anything. Mr. Cowie gave me my land that I built my house on." So I just wanted to point that out. So Joe, that's what my sister Hazel told me, that you approved her land for her house
You don't give me none.
so many years ago. So
you don't give me none.
I realized then that he is a man that doesn't look at colors, because
you got another fun.
His office was right in front of our house.
You
right?
have another
Right
fun,
across the
Joe.
street.
You have another fun.
His office was right there, so he knows that the red flag was always flying there. But my family was decent people. We always respected.
Well, that's good to know that you never look at that aspect of it when he made the decision. No, Lennox, and your mic is
something
off.
that I would like to add here.
I'm here.
Not because of the laurels they are putting on me, but I can say this: the Morrison family and the Ellington family were very two respected families in this community. They were
outside of politics.
No, I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking
about
that's
what I'm saying. Yeah.
They were well-respected people in this community that I grew up in.
Yeah.
They were. Their fathers, their mothers were great contributors to the development of our communities.
All right. Listen, Lennox, we know you did some work with the youth too. You've been working with young people. How much hope do we have, man? Because I've seen a few of them and it look like they brighten the future that much. I mean, are the young people going to be okay? Are we going to come through this?
No, I think so, G-Mac. I think the problem is that we have to understand that we are a young democracy. Belize's only 42. And we have to go back to explaining to these kids that they have a responsibility to become nation builders. And I think we have moved away. We have been, for lack of a better explanation, the Americans or the American influence have tricked us to think that we are 300 years old. We're kids in the sense of democracy. So once we speak to these highly intelligent young people, the way how Joe approached me, and say, listen to me, guy, you need to put up and shut up. You need to go into your community and start doing it. Here's the resources. Here, and I think we have not engaged them meaningfully enough for them to be a part of it.
But
And once we just have to step back
let
and,
us
and let these kids know that they have a responsibility to build this country.
let us look at that 42 and the analogy of being a baby and whatnot. But see that kind of like with artificial intelligence, kind of like with the computer and Google and whatnot, that while we are only 42 from years from independence, the world now has gotten to the point where there's universal access to whatever is out there. You have gone out. You were not reflective of a young Belize. You're reflective of a young man who have gone out and gotten your experience and education. So I don't know if we can use that excuse much longer as a young nation. We need to be aggressive.
G
You
Mike,
know that
it's not an excuse, it's an outlook. Meaning there are certain building blocks that you have to have in place to build a society, a democracy, a country.
But if you don't have, you use others. You use the building blocks that's there.
But others do not. Countries are in geopolitics. Everybody's about themselves. So we have to build Belize.
I hear you, and I'm not objecting.
The United States is not building United States for Belize. Mexico is not building Mexico for Belize. They have their responsibility of their citizenry. We have to remember when the revolution took place 300 years in this region. Europe was the big place. These countries had to strap on their boots. The Washington, the Bolivar, the Miranda. These boys strapped on their boots and they built a new world. We have to strap on our boots. There's no easy way out of digging the ground and building the foundation and putting up the walls.
Well, you know, we have challenges, exceptional challenges. Take for instance now, because I want to touch a bit on the Mayan rights and the fight that's going on down south. But we have different ethnic groups in our country. We have a lot of them. We got the Mennonites, the Hispanics coming from abroad. We have the Hindu. We have and if the Chinese come in and take over the chicken and whatnot industry, how are we gonna work that out and reconcile that with a step forward and it's putting on the boots? How are we gonna? Can we unite as a country, or will we keep fighting each other?
I think we just have to sit with these groups and tell them they have to engage. These groups I believe, we have not engaged the Mennonites, we have not engaged the Chinese, we have not engaged the Middle Easterns in a way whereby they have to understand you are a part of the society and you have to engage in this society,
the building of it,
in a meaningful way. And if that means strengthening our tax laws, strengthening our enforcement of the tax laws, force them, put the incentives in place whereby you donate, you contribute, you get the tax breaks.
The tax exemptions are done.
But there's ways how society has done it to ensure that these groups not only engage but want to be a Belizean. I don't think we have done it that way.
We have almost,
and I think they're sophisticated enough and they have found a home enough that they want to engage. But how meaningful our leaders have reached out to them directly on a personal level, and on a legislative level, that has to be fixed.
That's one of the things I see is that our leaders are not conscious. They're not so far constructive, and they don't have any long-term plans for the development of the country. And until they start fostering that type of idea, it's just elect me today and I'll do and get what I can and I'll do what I can for you. And that has been the program that we have seen since independence.
But they've almost go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and until that, I'll just wrap up right here. Until that kind of operation change, that we have leaders that are truly about the development and are visionaries and have places they want to take the people and the country, we'll forever have the situation we have where
Guys,
there's
you
no
know,
planning, no
guys,
development.
I want to. You know what I saw last night? I saw a spaceship come in from Mars and brought in some leaders to Belize. Our leaders are us. They don't come from Mars. They're a reflection of ourselves. I speak this way because I had a third farm teacher, Miss Flowers, Kathleen Flowers, who told me I had to engage. So we cannot blame our leaders. Our leaders are us. Each of us have a stake in this place.
That's kind of simplistic, though.
Yeah, yeah.
I hear you. You know, I
It's
hear you.
real.
Yes,
Well,
it's
we always say we are the leaders we elect, right?
We are.
When we get the
yeah,
leadership
yeah.
we deserve.
Unless they come from
But
Mars.
but we do have, but there is something to be said for the people that select themselves to be our leaders, that they have the national interest, because we
They
can't
formulate
all.
the policies.
Yeah,
but
they guide the way.
Politicians
Yeah.
will
No, but
not,
I think- sorry.
politicians will not do what they're not forced to do.
Of course, of
I'll
course.
give you
Mr.
guys.
Lam
I'll
is
give you guys a
making-
quick. And I like to use Joe, and I'll shut my mouth now. There was
I
a
like
developer.
what
Joe,
I
one
think what
second.
Mr. Lam is saying is true.
Joe, 1 second. There was a developer in West Landiva that wanted to put in a marina. I believe that Joe Cowie was kind of sympathetic to that developer. The residents of Caribbean Shores organized a meeting, a night. Joe, remember this night very good. And we told Mr. Cowie, under no uncertain terms, we want this marina in our area. And we didn't ask Mr. Cowie. We told him in force, you will stop it. And I'll finish on.
But some communities have more influence than
you
others.
asked Joe what he did. No, you asked Joe what he did the next day. Joe, what did you do after we told you it will not happen? What did you do, Joe?
I told them that I will go by what the people want.
Yeah, and that
That's
is
it.
the way. That is the way. But not every community has that impetus to
Or
initiate
that kind of leadership.
action.
Or that kind of leadership.
Or that kind of
Yeah, but-
responsive leadership, because sometimes people have other motives. There's something coming to them that then, and they don't care about, I'll be out tomorrow or whatever, or I'll make something else happen. So it depends on the quality of the person you have as your leader, and it depends on the people that are advocating for their rights to that leadership and knowing that responsiveness. So there's a dynamics that goes on. It just doesn't simply happen.
Yeah.
But I think that,
The constituents that Joe Cowie had and the person that Joe Cowie is makes a big difference in how your responsiveness is to the community and the voters.
Unfortunately, it's more the exception than the rule.
That's
But I
correct.
would say that Mr. Lam was making a very salient point, and I think Mr. Morrison was always supporting it. And the point is simple this. They say that one of the good things about democracy, you get the kind of government you deserve. Now, we tend to look at the leaders and we treat them as if though that they are separate from us. They are not. They come out of the same society that we come out of. So for us to begin to want to make a change, the change must not begin with the people where we elect. It must begin with the people who are doing the electing.
Yes. Yes.
And that's one of the things we are missing. We keep to
Shared
Boy,
responsibility. Shared
the minute-
responsibility.
Look, I sense in meetings where I've been at all these meetings right now in our country. First thing they say, boy, the man that the politician. In other words, we hold
Yeah.
on belief that a politician, and then we link it to politics, is something ignoble, is something that is synonymous to dishonesty.
Yeah.
When in fact, we should never have our children believing so.
Boy, but the
Because
proof is
our
in the
leaders-
pudding. If the taste is in the pudding, and the taste, that is what it is providing. Not
Yeah.
that the taste with the say with the get.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It-
We are-
it's
we are getting
difficult to
exactly
tell
what
your
they deserve.
child.
We are
Those
getting what
children
they
are
deserve.
growing up. They're seeing what is happening.
Right. But who is it to say that it's only those leaders who we elect are the bad ones? As well, and said they didn't come from a foreign planet.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
came
Yeah.
from among us.
Yeah. And
Could I
that
ask
this,
you this question without causing aspersion at any of you three?
Mhm.
I would wish theoretically, I don't know if you want to read a book, Doves Fly South. I don't want to take a chemical experiment and turn the three of you into a politician. And I want to turn your back after a while and let you look at how you may behave.
Yeah.
And then we ask ourselves, was it politics or was it you?
Yeah.
And we have to stop this thinking to make our young people, they see politics as a way to get rich quick.
Yes.
Others don't want to get involved because it's corrupt. But
Yeah.
every time you speak of a politician, we think about a dishonest person.
Mhm.
The kind of
Yeah.
society we want
Yeah,
to build.
the good honest people that want to keep their integrity say, no, I don't want to be a politician. Yeah,
That's right.
And
That's
that's the
right.
problem, because
That's
then
the problem.
But
That's the
no,
problem.
but there's more than that, because not only do they not, because I've always asked, this question: is it that the bad people go into politics, or does politics make people bad?
I think good-hearted people go into politics
And
most
then
of the
just
time.
change? Do they
And
change?
well,
The politics
there
would
are
never
lots of
make you
things
bad.
that yeah.
Impossible.
I think some people after a point they see opportunities and they just behave in the wrong way of how they should. They
There's
become
there's another angle too, because sometimes they see the ungratefulness of people that you try hard for, and then I imagine just say, you know
well,
what,
it's
really,
never for them to take though, I'm concerned about the part. I don't care about if you don't help me, but I'm concerned about the corruption.
uh,
I'm concerned about the corruption that result in
see why we're getting you. All right, thank you. Yeah, man. Because I want two-edged sword. I mean, we have, the politicians have to do their share, but the people also have to do their share. And I guess a part of that is demanding better from them. And yeah, that's obvious, right? Lennox is back.
Sorry,
So we were talking.
sorry.
When I want to go to the point of the situation with the Mayan, because Lennox, how do you see that? And maybe for the entire panel, we could look at that. Is it a form of balkanization, or do we really need to give the Mayans their land right and what is and went to the court? The interesting part of that is that it was a consent order, meaning that we, the government, the person who we hired and paying a lot of money for fight this case, which was Attorney Dennis Barrow, did not fight the case apparently, and just decided, make we just forget this, man. We could settle for this and give them these land rights. Was it a good deal or not?
I mean, I can say this too. I do not support the balkanization of any state by any one group. I would not, if it was my decision, I would have never ever consented to the balkanization of my state to one group or the other. It has not worked. I lived in Venezuela when that situation started, and I appreciated what Chavez did. I mean, he gave the indigenous people first dibs at the benefits of the oil that came out the ground. He gave them office. He gave them 2 members in the House of Representatives. He took schools. He gave them everything that they were lacking for development and real participation within the society, internet, cable. I mean, he gave them the resources that they were missing, but he made it very clear the entire country is for Venezuelans, and I will not engage in balkanization. And I think that is what we should have taken a page out of his book. It hasn't worked. It will never work. We're at the point whereby, sad to say, guys, we will see bloodshed pretty soon. We will see the violence coming very soon. And I don't think the court, the court, the CCJ, in my mind, just like our young democracy, was a young court. And I'm not going to say that, but it was a young court. And I think that decision, first, it shouldn't have gone there. And I think in their wisdom, they should have they should have not tried to do an academic exercise in that area.
Some
But
people have suggested that the lawyer could have fought a little harder as opposed to just consenting and say, why we could just call it this.
But I
No,
think
you know,
that's
let me just say a little bit on that, because I looked at it a little bit, and the case to me start falling apart with the court ruling in Belize with Justice Contek first decision, and then it was at election time, and the government at the time did not choose to contest it, and then later on it went to the CCJ, and Danny Barrow decided to accept a consent decree, which
Mhm.
I don't think is necessarily was a bad position at the time. It has changed a lot. The consent decree also only said that you, Belize government, go and sit with these Mayan people that you have accepted as having customary land rights, and then make an agreement about what you will offer to them and come back to us and have us review that plan. The government of Belize have never made any decision. They have just kept putting it both consecutively. Government, UDP, PUP, have not made any decision since that ruling to try and come up with a decision that would have served the interest. And the longer we keep this going, the more difficult it is going to be to resolve. And one of the problems I have with it is that most of the Mayan people that are making this pressure are not the original indigenous people to Belize that have been there for more than 40 or 50 years.
I don't, I don't,
It's
I
a
don't,
very
I don't
it's a
know that,
very
but
new. No, that is a fact.
Mayan are Mayan. I mean, they were,
No,
they
no,
were,
no,
there
no,
was
no,
the
no.
Mayans, and
You can't say Mayan is Mayan.
there were no borders back then. They were jumping back and forth.
Yes, but the
Nah,
populate no, but
I hear you.
continuous occupancy in Belize did not exist to that degree.
Yeah, that one interesting one there, but
No, because that has validity.
I think maybe I like the model that Lennox was suggesting that Chavez did. Was
yeah,
give
but we have
give
passed
them
that
first
now.
base, then give everybody one piece of land. You want land? There's enough land to go
but
around.
it's not that they want communal land and they want bulk of land.
But
They want bulk of land.
But here's the funny thing: not all of them.
No, not all of them. It's just yeah. It's just the ones out north.
the vocal minority, if you will.
Yes.
But it seems like
but they're getting aggressive and they're encroaching on
that
other people's property.
That is why Lennox is saying he thinks there will be bloodshed, and there will be, because there's been some fights down south now.
I hear they go and cut people trees and stuff off your land to get a reaction from you.
There's some crazy stuff going on,
and if that is happening, somebody's going to get hot head, and something's going to happen.
Yeah, it'll be a day when somebody wake up on the wrong side of the bed, and that's it. So
I think, gentlemen, I think the Caribbean Court of Justice made a decision without understanding what would be the consequences.
That's correct.
A court should never make a decision.
But it was not a decision. It was not a decision as such. It was the consent order, meaning that all parties agreed to it.
Go and find a solution.
So it was approved, right? It was approved by the court, but it wasn't a decision handed down by the court. But here you go, getting people this kind of land. They said, go and work it out. You're right, Greg. And we have not worked it out.
Yes,
we have just kicking the can down the road.
2,000 years ago, guys, there was no bank. There was no bank to take.
Let's come back to the consent order. What's the difference between what Hugo Chavez did? Hugo Chavez preempted a court to give a consent order. Doing what he was to do for the people. That they never had to go to a court.
Yes, that's why I said we have messed up in that the government.
If the two are gone for a consent order, whosoever may represent the government then?
Yes.
Gone. Did they ever think of how they're going to implement that consent order?
No, they just kick it down the road. They just
go to America. See how the Native Americans live in a reserve, and maybe learn something from that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do you want a reserve?
No, we don't want that.
Then what do you want?
You
You
see?
want what?
Guys,
No,
You
Joe,
want
Joe, Joe, no.
No,
You,
no,
you
no,
can't
no,
throw
no.
that upon me, man. No, man, that's not what
you
I
will
want.
never be able to resolve it. You won't.
Well, no, you could
Yeah, yeah,
resolve it.
yeah.
And like I
can't
said,
resolve it.
what
You can't.
use
then
the
I
right
suggested, see
no,
what Chavez do. Give
G-Man,
them first dibs give them everybody a piece of land. No,
That's right.
no,
uh,
but G Mike, the thing about it is right. Let's be real. This is about economics. 2,000 years ago, the Mayas didn't have any bank that they could take a title to, so we're not playing that. All of us lived in Belize. The Mayan ability to do milpa farming and farming was to sustain their little small communities. These huge tracts of lands that they're claiming and holding on to, who are they feeding? They don't need all that property for their sustainability.
Yeah.
They're not hunting
Exactly.
because all our animals is under reserve and protection. So it's all a hoax and a game, and I think we are playing hand into their game.
yeah, Mike gone out by accident there. Okay, the phone must have ring. All right, yeah, man. But listen, I think we have to get this resolved at some point. And I tend to I do and I don't want to believe it. I have to agree that you're gonna turn out ugly if we don't do something about it.
But what would you suggest we do?
I believe we have to bring them back to the table and explain to them in no uncertain terms. Belize is one country. We cannot have the balkanization. You can't get these huge tracts of land just because you're supposed to be entitled to it as an indigenous person.
And
Now,
who makes that determination? They're making the determination of how much land they should have and so forth. That's
but
that's
the
not
tail
the
wag the dog.
yeah, because the government have failed to act responsibly on
Then-
the issue.
You go to them with that and you tell them that. Then the ones who are supporting the individual ownership have no problem. They will go along.
Yeah.
But the ones who want communal ownership, and they say, no. We had a consent order from the court. What you want to do?
Consensus.
well,
Consensus.
So how you want to do that? Then how
Well, I
you
mean,
handle that?
no,
Well-
well, look at the country and the ones that want the land are together, bigger than the few who are making the noise like that. We want them big tracts of land just for sit down pan. Yeah, man. Somebody has to give in, and you
No, but-
cannot. So
Sorry,
what
Mr.
you
Chairman.
what you to
see,
say?
we are saying things that to me we need to hopefully try to make some sense.
Well,
if
what
you are
would
telling-
you? What would you?
If you are
recommend?
telling me you want to sit down with them, which they have been doing for some years now,
Right.
but the ones that are the ones that are strong on communal land is insisting that they have the consent order to support their demand.
Somebody
So,
has to back
government
down.
is finding a problem to really implement it.
But Mr. Cowie, it's because they have not been able to define what is their ancestral land and practices to keep their customary practices. So the government could say, okay, we will allocate this area and this is how this land is going to be adjudicated and managed and stuff. No, it's not going to any individual, and it will be managed through a corporation or a trust in Belize for the Mayas and for all Mayas.
Who expects?
Yeah, and also how whatever resources is there is to be shared with the Mayas as a percentage and with the rest of the government and Belizean people. No, not because you find oil on this, Mayas is going to determine who gets the contract and who gets the share of whatever revenue or whatever resource there is. That
But there's
needs
a law
to
that
be
deals with that. We don't need to worry
Yeah,
about
I
that.
don't
well,
know.
but
if
that's
that
what it is.
even-
But that's what it is right now.
No,
No,
There was a law that was passed that.
No,
that
I understand.
everything under the earth.
No, I
belongs
understand
to the
that. I
government.
understand that. But I think the last show someone mentioned, and I didn't know for sure, that the Mayans themselves had signed some contract with some of the exploration companies.
Right, they just did that recently. Yeah.
So that should never have been
Possible.
possible. It should always be the government of Belize that signed contract. The government of Belize could have gotten the consent of the Mayan people, as they should for any group of Belizeans that live anywhere, before they issue any concession for exploration. It should always be a part of an environmental impact, a part of the community agreeing to this happening, and it shouldn't just be. I think the government is making a lot of mistakes in how they are doing this to just kind of ease things up, but is setting a bad trend for Belize and for what is going to be an outcome that's going to be disastrous for all Belizeans.
Let me tell you what I would suggest as a solution. Well, let me tell you first that what I would never support. I will never support any consent order to allow those who were here 1,000 years ago to continue to have the right and the opportunities from the resources of this country to carry out their tradition. I think Mr. Lam pointed out something. You think, say, we will make you got enough land to continue with that milpa system? No, man.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Yeah.
So if you want to continue with your tradition as they were to go and hunt deer and animals and do this thing, no, man.
Yeah.
Let us
So to me, the only thing will solve it, money.
let
Yeah.
us
You
put
couldn't
that.
say when they make the nice.
Let us
Get
put
them somewhere where you could get enough money and get in some of the land and solve it and say,
Yeah.
done.
Yes.
Go
Yes.
with it.
let
Yeah.
us
Solve that money.
let us
Yeah.
put that in the context of what is
But
happening.
then let me just say something before we do that, before we say the money, because how do you select who gets those money? Because always the noisy people are going to get, and there'll be a vast majority of people that are not as vocal, that will not get nothing and have as much right to that money. So that becomes a tricky thing. And I know, and I just say that. I just say
could
that.
guide that. I could tell you how I'll guide it.
Okay.
Because the ones who are advocating for communal rights, you will give them their communal rights by demarcating the land that they will get.
Yeah.
You will give them some money to get them going.
Mhm.
Now let them decide among themselves how they will now manage what will be given to them. And then you're finished with them. Done.
But then how does that keep that land? When you get communal land, you cannot sell it. You cannot do anything with it other than you could develop it. You could build houses, you could build hotels, you could build that kind of stuff, but you can't sell it off as private property.
That's
right?
what I'm saying. That if it was there 1,000 years ago for them, it will be there another 1,000 years for them. Let them. That's what they want.
Okay.
Because
I just wanted to make
communal
sure. I just wanted to make
communal
sure it
lands
could
in
not
the
be
modern day world
converted to
cannot
private
work the way
property.
they want to work it, for the reason that once you have demarcated the area, this is the communal land.
Mhm.
No, once you give them that, the government finish.
Yeah.
Gonna go and work it how they want. They can't sell it unless
Yeah.
they all agree. So they
Mhm.
have
Oh,
to
so you're
decide
saying
the
they could
laws
sell it?
thereafter.
So you're saying they could sell it? No, I believe you cannot sell it
They will not be able to sell.
because
But that's what they want to give them.
Oh, okay.
And then leave it to them. That's another 1,000 years it will be there. By then, they know what they're wrong anyhow.
Yeah.
Just give them it and get in some money.
You know, listen. Enough for that. Let's put it in the context of what is happening in the Middle East, where
Mhm.
the Israelis are saying that they are entitled to that land there because God gave it to their. Now, I figure Greg would find this one a bit funny. Gave it to their ancestors who were there long ago, and then they moved and came
4,000
back.
years ago, 5,000 years ago.
I don't know.
First, you
Again,
gotta believe. First, you gotta believe in that Bible thing that you're mentioning, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's an issue. But
but
go on.
yeah. Apparently, the U.S. does. Everybody
Well,
else also that's using
no,
that.
I don't think a lot of people in the US are Christian and fundamental Christian, and so they do, but I don't think the government does. The government use
You know,
Israel for other things. They're
yeah,
a
but
little
that's what's
proxy in
funny.
the Middle East.
That's what's funny about it because a lot of time the foreign offices of these particular countries are not in sync with the wishes of the people. The feel that you get from the ground is different from what you get out of these high offices. I saw Jamaica's prime minister. Somebody sent me something with him meeting with the Prime Minister of Israel and forging and the Prime Minister of Israel thanking Jamaica for not voting against the or for in favor of the ceasefire. Now I find that totally ridiculous because most Jamaicans that I have spoken to, and the nature of the Jamaicans as it is when it comes to rebellion and trying that equal rights thing. So I don't know, and I'm waiting patiently for some of the songs that are gonna start to come out.
Mhm.
But I don't know how we get around that, Joe, because when a government makes a decision like that and puts forward their support of a particular
Well, we see, you said Shine
policy,
did the same thing,
well,
so
that's it.
we see how shallow those it
I
doesn't
am
go deep, right? It
I'm
doesn't
I'm
go deep.
I'm very disappointed in the Prime Minister of Jamaica. He has no manlinism in him, no Michael manlinism in him. Let
You
me tell you
certainly
what.
know Bob Marleyism in him.
That's right.
Yeah.
To me, this situation is not difficult for us to make a decision on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's open.
Because I think what Dean Barrow did and Said Musa was in fact making a decision based on law,
Mhm.
which we all should be doing. To me,
Mhm.
what is despicable, America, this time him, who was supposed to be the guardian and the upholder of peace in the world, is in fact refusing to accept the international law and is giving Israel unconditional support to violate the law. That to me does not go down good for the United States. And for the Prime Minister of Jamaica,
It does
coming
not
out of
good.
a region where we were supposed to be advocate under the non-aligned movement for international law to be upheld. And now we are going against the very things that we fought for at the non-aligned movement.
Joe, that is a very good point, because a lot of people I say, well, the prime minister, former prime ministers came out with a statement like that. But again, they're pointing out that legally, so then you cannot be upset at them for pointing out the truth. Israel is breaking a lot of international laws. I believe that 28 at last count. These are laws written in stone almost that are saying there are laws that you have to abide by when you get engaged in a conflict. When one country is dealing with another country, there are certain guidelines that you must stick with as per the dictates of the entire population of the world. Well, I mean, all countries, be socialist, communist, all of them, there are certain guidelines that we have settled upon as human beings. That the sanctity of the human person has to be safeguarded, man. You can't just go in there and wholesale. And I think the response from the Israelis is ghastly, that they are yet, and everybody is saying, listen, what Hamas did was not right. It was wrong. They gone in and just killed some people because those people are innocent. You don't know who made the day. At the end of the day, though, what they're saying is that didn't happen in a vacuum. They're not just then get up for say, this is 75 years actually of oppressive living conditions where they are continual. And if you see some of the atrocities committed against these people, who in their right mind could look at that and say, boy, that's all right, Then people gonna write. And I've spoken to a couple of Belizeans who have said to me, boy, well, then people, they gonna mess with them and then they get what they deserve. And I'm like, really? Children, innocent civilians. Um, Somebody sent me a video, and I read, and it looks so real of these Israelis in uniform leading politicians to a grave, throwing them in there and shooting them. That one serious thing. And I again, you could say that one video that I don't see it in a person, but it gets back to like when Joe Biden had made the statements that Palestinians are beheading people, and it turned out that that was not true,
Yeah.
and they
Beheading
by
and raping people.
and
Yeah.
raping, and there was no evidence to that. So maybe that could be a fabricated video for that propaganda. And this I have a problem with, gentlemen, that a propaganda also coming out of the Western media, where they're showing it. You know, the other day I heard somebody making reference to Pearl Harbor. That America, this of we 9/11, and remember Pearl Harbor when they attacked America. America got into the war and did all of this and whatnot. And I'm like, really, have we not grown at all? Um, and I don't have, there's no sense of fair play where they can give the real story, and to say there are two sides to this. These people have been living under oppressive ways of existence.
Well,
I mean,
Mr. Chairman,
uh,
I will ask your indulgence to exit, but before I do this, I must leave with a good note. I think in your speech that you gave just now, your presentation, you were quite articulate and eloquent in making evidence, not just persuasive, but conclusive evidence to convict Israel. I thought that what those points you made just now were very convincing points. They violated those laws against the Palestinians. So I would say, yes, I do support what is fighting for in the Middle East in favor of the Palestinian people because it's under international law.
yeah.
And I beg your indulgence. I'm sorry I have to leave at this moment. Mr. Greg,
Good evening,
carry
sir.
on.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you next week, Joe, for sure,
Sure,
right?
man. Definitely.
Lennox is still
Yeah, why is
online. He might be
Yeah.
Trying to
coming back
fix
in.
his
It'd be
computer.
nice to get his input on this. But Greg, what about the atrocity, the our situation? I can't see how they went to the UN, and actually there were enough people voting against a ceasefire that Israel felt emboldened, okay, to go ahead with what
Yeah.
they're doing.
Mhm.
Um, and again, it's not a war. I think maybe they should stop referring to this as a war.
It's a
It is
slaughter. It's a
it is a
slaughter.
slaughter,
Yeah.
an aggression,
Yeah. One
uh,
person, one group committed a slaughter, and now they are choosing to wreak
revenge,
vengeance on it.
revenge.
And so far, for 1,400, they have killed almost 10,000.
10,000 people.
10,000.
And
So
that is not that the ones who are killed, the
yeah,
ones who are injured and maimed, and for life, they can't take care of themselves.
yeah,
Uh, why the one side? I think though, and I go on the limb and say this, that they have opened a Pandora's box. I think that Israel will see a level of anti-Semitism way into the future, that I don't think they is going to be make what they're doing here worth whatever they're going to achieve through doing it. Um, I think that as it is, they have been a persecuted people. Everybody knows that, and everywhere they go, it seems they're persecuted. I certainly in the United States, the Jews have been persecuted. I lived in Brooklyn. I know that the Crown Heights overrun, and they're disdained, if you will. They're not liked. My question is that for a people so chosen and so blessed, how are you so disliked? I mean, almost that's almost like being cursed. Is it? There's
well,
something. Are
well,
they?
I'm no expert on Judaism or Jewish people or any of that, but I will say that it seems to me that they have overextended their hand in trying to reach some level of justice for what was done to them. Because if you continue with this type of behavior, all you're doing is fostering. Maybe they can't get you now, but there'll be a generation, there'll be a
Exactly
group
what
of
I'm
people
saying.
that will
Exactly.
come back and exact even more revenge.
Exactly what I'm saying.
And you know, as we move into this world today, we talk about AI, we talk about um, kind of genetic things that could be done to affect populations and stuff like that, all these things are going to be the weapons of the future, and it's going to cause a great deal of disruption in the world, and people are making it with actions more likely that others will try to harm them in those gross and what we'd almost call unforgiving ways. So I think that whenever you start making the decision that the Israeli government is making, and the decisions that is being encouraged or being allowed to happen by the US, because see, to me, I think US politicians are under a great strap. They get a lot of their money from Jewish organization, Jewish banks, Jewish funding, and things like that. That it makes them almost to a great degree
beholden to them. Yeah,
beholden to them. Yes, yes,
yeah,
that's a
yeah,
good
yeah.
word. And so they are not able to, and they are very active. We look and we see that, if you said something, if you go and say something there have been so many CEOs and so many leadership people that have just copied and shared a tweet from someone else or a Facebook comment from someone else, and all of a sudden they become persona non grata in terms of their own company, in terms of
Anti-Semitism.
in
Yeah,
terms of being able to earn a living now, in
yeah.
terms of losing a position as a professor at a university,
Ridiculous.
all this stuff, because they're aggressive about it, and what
Yeah,
that shows is the power they have as individual and as the community,
but
and
Gregory,
how responding our society is to that pressure.
this is a country that promotes freedom of speech, that fights for freedom of speech. How can you then not allow freedom of speech and victimize people because of their speaking out? Or, like you said, sharing a post,
Yeah,
sharing a meme.
yeah.
It's totally ridiculous. And I saw the FBI call a press conference to warn that the level of violence is expected to
Yes,
just increase
yes, yes,
tremendously,
yes, yes.
especially on school campuses. And there are a lot of and a lot of Jewish people who, well, they certainly don't hide their identity.
Yeah, no, and they shouldn't. They
They wear
shouldn't.
it, and yeah. But I'm wondering now, though, what how is that gonna play out? Because it's gonna be, and even I was reading about um the help available to people who were traumatized by just the images coming out from this war.
Yeah.
That the amount of children that will be traumatized
Could
in
I'm always appalled when I hear about the effects in America of 9/11, and I keep thinking of the effects of people living in just a narrow little strip, and how many 9/11 has been brought upon those people with those
yeah,
buildings, whole
but it's not
neighborhoods.
news. It's not news.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. The funny thing is there seem to be a news blackout and it's international. It's not just
well,
in the U.S., but it seemed to be an international and deliberate. Um, I don't know if conspiracy is the word, but
yeah,
deliberate act to not bring us the
coercion.
news of what's happening, and also of the protests that's going on
Indeed,
against
indeed,
the
indeed,
effect
indeed,
of what's
indeed.
going on.
And Greg, what I find interesting is that CNN and Fox, for instance, who have always been at each other's neck, fake news and lying and whatnot, both of them, but they have found a common ground on this. That the narrative, they seem to be singing from the same hymn sheet. Yes, these are Israelis really good, good, good. Palestinians bad, bad, bad.
Yeah,
If an Israeli dies, the end of the world. If a Palestinian dead, well, that's just another animal. That
yeah,
that
yeah.
they because when you see the conditions these people have been made to live under,
Yes.
again, this is exactly what our former prime ministers are saying in their statement. This didn't just. We understand how bad it is what Hamas did, but
Hmm.
it didn't occur in a vacuum. There's a long string of things. There's one Israeli former Israeli soldier that came up and said his job was he lived beside some Palestinians, and his job, a part of his duty, was to harass them day and night until they moved, and then
Yeah.
the house was given to Israeli family.
Yeah.
That they show areas where
Yeah.
they started out with little campers, and then it
Mhm.
became huge buildings,
Yeah.
right, within Gaza, within
Yes.
the West Bank.
Mhm.
And that while the Palestinians are living day to day trying to get a few drops of water, they're
Yeah.
wasting water. They have swimming pools, they
Yeah.
have fountains in their yard, they have
Yeah.
their dogs bathing in water,
Mhm.
and the politicians are trying to get a few drops to drink.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. I don't care what the penalty is or the repercussions for voicing and just disgust against that. I cannot help but do that. I have to say this is an atrocity and it must stop.
Yeah.
I hope it stops. I hope at some point, and I believe that if the US was to get up tomorrow and say, Israel, we need a ceasefire, man.
Oh, of
At
course. Of
Let
course.
us get those hostages out alive. Let
Yeah.
us clear. And I don't know where they're going, because apparently, and now they're opening one of the borders to make to some of
Egypt. Yes.
the
Egypt.
wounded can go. And it's funny because they were saying, well, they're also Arabs. Why don't they consider them? But see, it wouldn't be fair for Egypt to say open its borders, let all of them in. They're already swamped. They already are
Mhm.
facing
Yeah.
difficulty with the population that they have. Now,
Well, I think that that is not the concern. Just letting the people in. They are concerned that what Israel practice has been in the past with these type of things is once you let those people out, Israel refused to let them back into
and
the
they let their
area,
people in. They
and
they
they let
let,
their people in.
yeah,
So
develop
so
new
that
settlements.
yeah, so that is the concern. The countries that are bordering and could let them in is not so much that they don't want to be kind-hearted to the Palestinians, but they're
Yeah,
concerned that if they let them in, Israel will adopt the policy of no return for those citizens of Palestine, and then they take over the land. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's the
Which
big
which
that's the big
which one
concern.
wonders if it is not the game end game to
Oh
start with.
yes, oh yes,
You know,
yes, yes, yes.
and then it also begs the question: could it be what was their frustration in place that abetted what happened, what transpired, in order for this then to happen? Um,
Well, you know,
it's not that
if
far fetched.
after you've been abused for so long, I am sure I don't know what I would always when things like this happen, you always want to know what was the people that initiated the action end game. How did they play this out and see this acting out? Did they expect this over heavy um, bombing and stuff? Did they expect to be chased out of their own country and have thousands and maybe tens of thousands of their citizens killed and get displaced? What were they thinking?
I don't
And
know that they were even looking at that so much. I think though what they wanted was to bring attention to their plight, and that they have received.
oh, they have done. That they have done.
There are many people who didn't even know what was going on,
Yeah.
didn't even know the situation. I didn't know the extent of it, and what has been going on. When you look at the maps
Hmm.
of what used to be and what is, and
Yes.
the rationale behind moving those people and putting them there and saying, you know what, just spread out,
Hmm.
keep
Hmm.
a lot of houses, and that a system of apartheid. Let's be
Yes.
clear,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
it is
Yes.
apartheid
Yes.
within a land that belonged to these people, man.
Yeah.
And the only claim you have to this land is that God gave it to you. I
Yeah.
don't know. I think God is powerful enough that He would be able to say, you know what, see this
Move
piece,
over.
yeah,
You
yeah,
take this piece, yeah, but move
and
over.
but that, even if it was just that, I could understand, because initially they were saying, all right, a two-state system where
Mhm.
they would have 50% Palestinian, 50% Israel. I could understand that. That even so, they needed somewhere to go. You can do that, and there was a lot of land out there, but then they went way farther than that. It is now up to 78% that
Mhm.
is Israel, 22% that is left in in Gaza and the
Yeah,
and the Golan
West Bank.
Heights, and inside of those there are many settlements where
Mhm.
the Israeli live in almost a separate kind of
Mhm.
existence compared to the Palestinians
Yeah,
who have to walk about with an ID. Um, uh,
yeah.
uh, uh,
A
you
red
know,
card or a green card that gets you
yes,
into different places.
and
Yeah,
there was one.
it is an apartheid system. There's no doubt about that, and this is part of the consequence of having the overreach support of the United States as they are. And you know I don't like saying this, but if a country or a people or a person, if every day he goes and he punch you and you do nothing, and he punch you and you do nothing, then he start feeling that he has that right to punch you. And the day you turn around and you hit him back, and he just brings hell on you, is a
And
very difficult concept, and I don't know which God accepts that, you know.
But that's I'm getting ready to say, because if these people are so godly, they're chosen people, but that's not godly action. The action, what they're doing. One Palestinian mother was saying that her child was very sick, and they had to go through 6 checkpoints, and they're telling the people, listen, we're not going to weapons, we're not going, are we going to the hospital to try to save this child's life?
Hmm. Hmm.
And by the time they got to the hospital, the doctor say, miss, your child died 20 minutes ago, there's nothing we can do for you.
Yeah,
And how do you live with that? How
yeah.
do you then, how do you just accept that and move on? You know what, it is what it is, that
Feel
there's
like
not.
it's justice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That type of stuff breeds resentment and hatred, and it leads us to the situation where we are, where there's no trust, no care for each other, and the greater destruction I could bring upon you is
but
what you're
but
gonna be getting.
but Gregory, that apartheid in South Africa came down,
Yes,
and we're hoping what brought it down was the rest of the world condemning it, not
yes,
supporting it.
yes,
And I think if America had found one of the last countries
yes. They
to
were,
do it
they were.
again. Um,
Hmm.
so I am hoping. I saw the president of South Africa saying they withdrew the ambassador. They don't want nothing to do with Israel. They say we're not going to have no sporting. And sports was a big part of what brought down apartheid in South Africa. Because no nation wanted to engage in sporting activities with South Africa. And
Hmm.
every country loves to partake in sporting activities and whatnot. So that one, I don't know if that a way out, that maybe if enough countries, I see Chile just did it, Colombia just did it, and saying that we don't want got nothing to do with it until this war is done, until they stop the aggression. And I'd hope that more countries would stand up and do it. Um, our little
But
Belize, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, you know, somehow from our mindset, the Ukraine war has kind of dissipated, but it's raving, and we're seeing a more complicated, a more vicious world as we look around with these two war going on, and there's still some issues of conflict and dispute in some of the African countries right now too. So
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
there's
yeah,
there's
yeah.
lots going on. There's lots
There's
going
a
on.
lot of unrest,
Mhm.
and it's not looking good, Greg, for none of us. For
Mm.
even those of us who think we're not, we're far removed from it. We will be affected if that only in gas prices, food prices,
Yes.
shortage of food, basic
Yes.
stuff,
Yes.
is gonna be bad.
Yes. Yes.
Um, I, another thing too is these conflicts that you're talking about. America seems to be involved in too many of them, and there's China right there, rattling sabers,
Hmm.
doing little exercises and whatnot. North
Taiwan.
Korea,
Yeah. Yeah.
in
Taiwan. Yeah.
North Korea, yeah, is there. Um,
The-
Japan. There's still a lot of children. Children are growing up, the descendants of those affected by the
yeah.
bombs that were
Atomic
dropped.
bomb. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think you don't want to paint yourself in a corner, and we all look up to America as a beacon of
It is. It
democracy.
is. It is an aspirational country. Sometimes we don't live up to our ideals, and right now I don't think we're shining the best light. And
From
and and
yeah, more than that, Gregory, because it seems almost that the foreign office, the the people who are running the things are not in sync with the feelings of the general people on the street. The majority, I am willing to bet that the majority of people in the United States are willing to condemn what is going on. I've heard a lot of condemnation of this. And then, though there are, of course, the extremists, those
Mhm.
who, um, just as do we condemn extremism in as far as the terrorist groups and whatnot, we have to condemn it on the other side
Mhm.
when you're too extreme in wanting to see a certain type of system in place that is so blatantly unfair, man.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is an issue, and I don't know how we're going to save face with it, because I do believe that the current leadership in the United States have really stepped over it and stepped in it. The Republicans, they do have strong support for Israel. The Democrats does too, but I think that everybody is concerned about the funding of it, because I think between Israel and
Ukraine.
Ukraine, they're asking for $64 billion.
Yeah,
You know
with a
what
B.
64?
With
Yeah,
with a
you know
B.
what $64 billion could do for America? But
Yeah.
part of we have to realize that there exists, and one president, I can't remember his name, warned us about the military industrial complex, and
Yeah.
that has been what's
The
sucking
driving
us.
force. The
It has been
driving force.
sucking us because,
Yeah. Yeah.
in my opinion, these people build these bombs. A lot of time when America offers these aids to this country, a high percentage of it is military weapon,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
So, but
And
you're
so,
saying it's sucking us, but it's not sucking the ones who are producing those weapons. There are
no, they're
some
making
people
profit.
they're
They're making
getting
profit.
they're
They're
getting
making
filthy
profit.
rich, and
They
not only that, they're experimenting with the
Yes,
bombs that they have that they haven't been able to use. They're
yes.
depleting the whole stock that's there so that they get more in. So,
Exactly. So the government will buy more of their bombs, and they'll get to have
man,
new
man,
fancy gizmos. So there's a lot at play. There's a lot at play with it, and I think everybody needs to take a little bit back. You see, there's sometimes I mean, there are lots of things about president. I think I mentioned this last time. The last past president, he was more of a businessman, and he thought we could work with people and make deals, and not be so faced with wanting to fight with everyone.
well,
And I
Gregory,
think, let
uh,
me just get this point before I
yeah,
forget.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I think that the current president comes from an old cloth where they want to show off power, and want to, and the old belief and concept of go to war more easily.
Measure,
Yeah.
measure male organs. Um, and it's funny because that's why I didn't want to miss this point. Biden is making even Trump look good, and
Yeah.
Trump was such
Yeah.
a almost despised, but apparent by only by some people, because half of the American people
Hmm.
still think apparently that Trump is the right man in the office.
Yeah.
No, but it has nothing to do with the spending money as such, because apparently both political parties are approving this aid, and
Yes. Yes. Yes.
yeah, you're lobbying for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but so I don't know. It'll be funny to see what happens the next election, which is next year, right? Right? Right?
Yes. Yes. Next year. Next year. I think Belize election and U.S. election comes up on the same
Yeah,
cycle,
yeah, yeah.
within the same calendar.
And you know,
You
it's
know.
funny because I've always felt that Belize should follow the model, the U.S. model, where you have a fixed date for the election. You know what date is going to be. Like in America, the
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
Tuesday in every November.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me, because you cannot just have the government in power playing with that date and waiting until they could get the money for spend.
Yeah.
I think it adds a bit more stability um, to
I,
the whole
I, I
process.
I think there are some benefits to have it as a predictable cycle, but I don't have a problem with the parliamentary system that we have that gives the prime minister the power and right to call election at his choosing. It seems to me that the people ultimately still have the will and right, and so it's okay with me. But I do agree that there's some predictability and stability in having fixed election. So
How about a 4-year term
4-year term for the prime
for,
minister.
for, for Belize? I mean, our election, we don't elect our
Well,
prime minister, and
oh,
which
oh,
I don't know
oh,
if maybe we shouldn't do that also. These are some of the changes that I would like to see considered.
yeah. Well, we didn't talk about constitution tonight, other than mention Dickey a little.
Isn't that
But
something? Yeah. No.
yeah, but I think I don't have a problem with having an elected prime minister. I think it would create a bit of evenness in how things are viewed, because I do believe that for a long time some of the Belize districts, some of the districts in the country of Belize were not given their fair share of government expenditures and so forth, and consideration for their development. And I think if you have someone that has to appeal across the country to a majority of the voters, we would see some of those differences and more accountability from the office of the prime minister.
So
So
you talk about proportional representation, or a
no,
prime
not
minister
proportional. Just for the prime minister.
elected separate from the party.
From the parliament. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I
yeah.
I'm I can't you do that without going all the way over
Yeah,
to
yes, you can, because well, I
Barbados
think
did it? Yeah,
Barbados did it, but I think they converted to a sort of a republic.
yeah,
But
yeah,
they
yeah.
do have that mixed part where the prime minister is elected and the parliament is elected separately. So
I
so
I
so you
also
could have
think
that sort of a hybrid, right?
something else I'd like to see considered too is the representatives be representatives of their division, their constituency, and then maybe draw the cabinet from technocrats. In other words, the ministers would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
from a field that they're familiar with. How can you put an electrician as a part of the health system?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah.
So I I think
I agree.
yeah, but there are many areas that I think we really need to look at. We can tweak the Constitution. I would not be in favor of a wholesale throwing the baby out to the bathwater and start over. It's ridiculous.
No, no, no. There was something you were mentioning about Shine's position in
Yeah.
terms of his, and we didn't delve into it. I don't know if we ran out of time. In terms of his coming out and supporting Israel, and
Mhm.
I do have concerns about that, like you said, because I believe that, and I believe that politicians could express their personal views, but I think for the most part, in terms of countries, they are representative of the country. And if they don't represent the value of the countries, then there's a consequence they should pay for that.
I fully agree. They should reflect the feelings of the people.
Yes.
Yeah. They that's why they have to go out there and touch bases with the people, get the
Mhm.
feel of the pulse of the people, and know. But they have people out there who are supposed to report back to them, because no one person can do that by themselves.
Oh yeah, yes,
But
yes, yes.
certainly you have a lot, because they have a lot of hangers on. They have
Mhm.
lots of people hired, some of
Yes.
them to do nothing, Greg,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
And they live big, high in the house. Some of them have who influence like you wouldn't believe. They got more influence than one minister. So
Yeah.
I think they need to um, look at that. There's so much we can tweak the system, and we have to get started. But speaking of getting started, we got to get stopped because we're running out of time. It went by so quickly.
Yeah, yeah. And
So,
we miss Lennox. He fell off.
yeah,
I don't know what
we have to
happened.
bring him back
Yeah.
again, because maybe just and just to dash in for a moment. I think he was saying I'm going to stay too long. So
Okay. Okay.
and he and Joe, of course, are
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
as do.
Yep.
So
They go way back, it seems.
he
To
only come in for big up Joe. That's all he come from Equity. So,
And I
but
had to throw that in because my sister told me that story, and I was like, really? Joe Cowie gave you your
well,
house
no,
lot?
interesting, because Joe the one he don't like
Yes, yes,
politicians,
yes,
though
yes.
he has had things also. Maybe one day when tie down for Equity, find out
Of course. Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
what's the two sides of this thing, because there are those who have other stories to tell about him.
Of course. Of
Um,
course.
and of course, yeah, because uneasy lies the head that wears the crown, no? And
I'm
you
sure
know,
he's ready for it, and he's probably been waiting because
I
whatever.
salivating. Yeah, trust me. Gregory, it's been a pleasure once again, man. Thanks for the time. Thanks to all of those who listen, who are in there. We have to find a better way also for them to communicate. What we want to, like I said, if anybody wants to comment, say something upon the topics that we're touching on, they can contact CY via Messenger, via Facebook, via YouTube, whatever, and he can send a link for just the time what they need to express what they want to, if they don't want to be a full guest as such. Anybody who wants to recommend any guest, anybody they'd like to hear from, or if you yourself would like to be a participant on the show, please contact us, let us know, because we just want to make this a magazine that could serve the purpose of sharing information and dealing with topics of interest to people.
Yeah.
We-
And you know, we're not. I want to say we're not experts in any of these things we
oh
talk
yeah,
about. Maybe if you talk to me about engineering, I might have some expertise. But generally, I just come on and share my opinion, my value system, and try to see where other people are in their thinking.
Constructive
That's all.
banter. Constructive banter.
Yes.
Let's stay tuned. Let's stay strong. Let's pray for those poor people who are suffering in the throes of war. Stop it, please. We have to stop it. See why? We're getting ready to roll. Greg, again, thanks a lot. Folks, respect every time. See why I
Good
gonna
evening.
sleep on me?
Good evening.
Here we go. Oh yeah. Look at hear that tune, see why. This is a nice song, you know. See why I make a lot of music. I think you should get a little more airplay.
Yeah. That's a good tune.
Yeah,
Is that his tune?
It sound like give me a hand directly. Unique.
Yeah.
Disappear for a while, but now I am back again, introducing a new style, them call the Ling Bang. I am a musical zen, violating the charts again. Disappear for a while, but now I am back again, introducing a new style, them call the Ling Bang. I am a musical zen, violating the charts again. Ling Bang, no matter
Yeah, man.
50 or 10.
All right, yeah, somebody pass it, you know.
Bullying a pain, Ling
See you
Bang.
guys next week.
Rooster or
Outta here.
Creme de la creme, Ling Bang, no matter if you